If you're looking for a super easy meal prep dish, you're in the right spot. This chicken adobo is an easy to throw together dish for the week, but don't be fooled by the simplicity. Like many Asian dishes, while the ingredient list is simple, the dish carries so much damn flavor. It's insane, and it's insanely good, so let's jump in on how to make it. Our procedure today for the chicken adobo is going to be cooking our rice first, then we'll make our chicken, then we'll cook our sauce, and then we'll prep everything together here in the end. To start with the rice here, I don't think I need to explain much. It's a pretty straightforward process. I'm using 240 grams of rice today, which you can obviously scale up and down depending on your own macro targets. And by the way, this rice is washed. I was just talking to someone the other day who was struggling to avoid cooking clumpy rice, and the common reason this happens is that people don't wash their rice first to remove the starch. Place your rice in a bowl, run some water over it, mix it all together with your hands, then literally rinse and repeat until the water being rinsed out is clear. This will just signal that the starch is largely removed off the rice and ultimately help maintain the structure of the rice grains when they cook. Anyways, once our rice is cooked, we'll set this off to the side. Moving on to our chicken, I've got roughly 915 grams of chicken breast here, which for those who follow us would know this is a little bit on the higher end of how much I generally use for meal prep recipes, but I was okay fitting in the extra into my own numbers. Use however much you want though. If you only want 150 grams of chicken per serving, then use 750 grams instead. It just depends on your own targets here. I'm gonna hit the chicken with some salt on each breast, about a teaspoon or so, and then we'll just let these sear until we get some nice color on them. And that's all we're really going for here. We're not trying to cook the chicken breast entirely, and that's why I have my pan heat hotter than usual. We just want the color here. We're not trying to cook it entirely. And then we'll flip and season the other side of the chicken breast with salt as well. Also, you can see that I left the chicken breast whole here. I didn't butterfly them like we normally do. The reason for this is that we're going to bake the chicken here in a second, so I'm not trying to balance burning the chicken's exterior and cooking the inside to 165. The baking process will take care of that. Once we have our chicken where we want it though, I'm going to toss in 7 cloves of garlic. And you can see that I just crushed them with my knife here, which helps release some of those essential oils, get more flavor out of it. Then I'm going to toss in about a tablespoon of black peppercorns. I like to let these ingredients sear in the pan first to develop some flavor. I don't like when I see other cooks make this dish and they basically let the garlic and peppercorns boil in the liquids when they pour everything together. I guess it's not an overly essential step, but I do think you get a slightly better flavor profile by letting it sear first. Once we have the flavor we want, we'll toss the rest of the ingredients in here. I'm going to pour in 100 grams of white distilled vinegar, 60 grams of soy sauce, 40 grams of water, 25 grams of brown sugar, 4 bay leaves, which I'm just going to crush up in my hands here. And then I'm going to hit each chicken breast with some black pepper over the top. I'm going to turn my chicken breast over and hit the other side with some black pepper as well, although I don't know why I did this. Is a totally unnecessary step. I mean, just add a little bit of extra black pepper over the first side. You don't have to flip it back and forth. But anyways, once we have the chicken where we like it, we'll toss this in an oven set at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 to 30 minutes or so. It can differ depending on the oven type you have. We're just baking it though until the chicken reaches 165 internally. Once we're there though, here's what that looks like. I'm going to baste my chicken here for a second to get everything covered, and then set the chicken onto a cutting board for a moment. For the rest of the sauce though, we'll place this over medium-ish heat to bring to a simmer. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of cornstarch with about a tablespoon of water that's been mixed together to help thicken the sauce, which will simply mix until the sauce reaches our desired consistency. Pretty simple here. We've done this before with the honey garlic chicken as well. What I like to do is place the chicken back into the pan here and give it another final baste before cutting. This is a totally optional step. Frankly, you don't have to do this. I think it's just like the idea of the chicken breast being covered in the sauce, but yeah, it's totally optional because we're going to add the sauce and the chicken back in later anyways. So we'll remove the chicken back onto the cutting board and then proceed to cut up our chicken breast pretty simply. Nothing fancy here. I'm just slicing the chicken up and basically portioning things out across 5 servings. You can obviously cut up the chicken in whatever kind of shape or size you want though. It doesn't have to be like this or a standard slice or anything like that, just for your preferences. But either way, when we're done here cutting up our chicken, it's time to prep our lunches. We'll start with adding rice to our containers here, which we'll split up equally across each of them. Then we'll take some of this chicken and do the same. I'm basically just eyeballing my portions here like I normally do. As I always mention, if you're going to eat all of the food anyways, you don't have to measure things precisely per serving. The macro consumption profile is going to end up being the same in the end anyways. Next, I'm going to take some of this sauce from earlier and spoon that over the top. And you can add as much or as little as you like here. And you also could have strained your sauce to get rid of some of the non-liquids, but I'm being lazy here and frankly it's not totally necessary. And then finally, this isn't a food balance dish without a little green onion, so I've gotta add some of that as a final touch. But I'm super excited to dig into these lunches. These look terrific and terrifically tasty, but let me know what you guys think of the dish. Here's the usual macro and ingredient overview. Of course, this can be found on our website and on our Instagram page as well. I did realize we forgot to post last week's chicken pesto dish on Instagram, so that's my bad. We'll be sure to stay on top of that a little bit more closely. But please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this recipe.